Good afternoon and welcome to episode 5 of my mental health series, Wallflower Findings. My name is Arazim and I lied last time because this has absolutely been my favorite episode to work on so far. Because in this episode, I'm not quoting nearly as many facts, but I'm now tying these facts from my previous episodes to the ideas I've mostly kept quiet for years. A few people have asked me why I'm doing these podcasts, and I usually tell them that it's to promote mental health and also to use it as a baseline for arguing the need to restructure our educational system as soon as possible. Both of which are true, but on a real personal level, vocalizing my story and my purpose, like actually saying it out loud, has allowed me to validate myself and everything that I've been through that has led me to this point. I've learned, and this whole episode is about knowing that the more profound your reason as to why you do what you do, 1, the more successful you're likely to be, and 2, having a deeply rooted why actually fuels your motivation while allowing you to gradually let go of fear, which is again the primary entity or thing that stops us from taking risks and trying something new. It is by knowing and understanding why you are trying to achieve or do something that you will almost always find a way to accomplish your goal and no one will be able to stop you. This is part of the reason why I don't really pay attention to how many people listen into my podcasts. Obviously, I would love for people to listen in and get something useful out of it for their own lives, but if my purpose was just to get listeners or just to get attention, I would have probably quit after the second episode. The thing is, whether or not people listen in, doing these podcasts forces me to organize and write out my thoughts in order to make sense of the things and ideas I've had in my mind for years. Which is actually how I came to call this series Wallflower Findings. Growing up shy, I always stood on the sidelines observing from a distance, not knowing that certain events from my past had taken my voice away and rendered me unable to believe anything I thought mattered for the greatest part of my life. So, in order for me to be able to present my perspectives publicly, I make it a point to back my ideas with credible sources and associate them with real-world knowledge, and so I'm also getting to learn new things as I go. I translate all of my episodes into Spanish in hopes of reaching a broader audience, so I quickly learned that it's much better and easier to write down my episodes in English first, and then translate the document to Spanish, and then start recording each version. I decided some time ago that I want to be an author someday and use my book to argue the need to restructure our educational system. Having to write each episode down, I already have over 60 pages worth of material, including this episode, and well, this project and this series actually allows me to slowly prepare just for that goal, while again, hopefully being able to provide a different and helpful perspective for the listeners I do have along the way. Again, I started in September, it's now November, in 2 months I have 60 pages. And again, not only in one language, but in 2. I thought about maybe going back into psychology, or actually back before I was even in college, but now I know that as noble as a psychologist profession is to be able to counsel individuals, I wasn't convinced it was the path for me. I also thought about going into education now and starting there, but there's still something missing. Even if I ended up opening a school or two with a different structure, it would still not be enough for what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve. Then when I was first thinking about starting the series, I thought, well, books are pretty powerful, so publishing a book, arguing and challenging a well-established structure as massive as our educational system, that is what I want. As crazy as I sound, I want to tap into the system surrounding and governing how most of us are educated today. So like I said before, as big and as crazy as my goal is, I firmly believe I have some of the deepest roots surrounding why I have chosen this goal and dream to be what it is, and I know other people will see it too. Why is the most important question to ask when you're getting ready to set a goal, because your whys are the seeds you plant that make up the foundation for everything you set out to do, whether in school, at home, work, relationships, personal goals, partnerships, all of it. Now, I don't want to pressure you if you're not sure what it is, and if that's the case, that's totally okay, because I guarantee a lot of people are on the same boat. There's nothing wrong with that. The good news is I've been able to pin down the exact ingredients that will maximize your potential for finding just that purpose and or fueling your purpose if you've already got one. The crazy part is everyone has access to them, but like anything else, it is definitely a process and definitely takes work and consistency in order to get results. For my previous episode, Big Changes Come in Small Packages, the two major takeaways were that in order to achieve almost anything you want, no matter how big or small your goal may be, is to break it up into tiny processes you can control right now. And two, the power that compassion has when you make a conscious decision to add it to your daily routine. And this is where it all starts. Do you remember the principles we were taught early in elementary school? I'm talking about respect, compassion, honesty, gratitude, responsibility, discipline, all things that we should honestly be reminded of every day of our lives, because it is these very principles that govern every single part of our lives and moreover dictate and build the foundation of our success, no matter what the word success means individually to each of us. Not only do these principles govern each of us on an individual level, but collectively, these principles fuel our cooperation and our progress as a humanity as a whole. And this is exactly where the key lies. There are so many people who believe, or who might still believe, that the world revolves around money, but really the world circulates money, or in other words, we make money go around, which allows us security. And then if you make enough to buy cool things, travel, and hopefully help some people out along the way and whatnot. The world itself, however, actually operates around these basic principles we were taught at an early age, and the entire world thrives when we collectively use these principles to make genuine connections with other human beings for the purpose of adding value to the lives and spaces around us. If there is absolutely anything to take away from this episode, it is exactly that. The world itself actually operates around these basic principles. Again, respect, compassion, honesty, gratitude, responsibility, discipline, and the entire world thrives when we collectively use them to make genuine connections with other living beings for the purpose of adding value to the lives and spaces around us. Using these principles, or these ingredients, help us create not only happiness for ourselves, but for others, but especially gratitude and compassion from my last episode, have the proven scientific ability to benefit our overall health, both physically and mentally. But again, you definitely don't have to take my word for it. Ask anyone who feels truly successful in life, and I guarantee most of those people are doing something they love while helping other people in the process in their own unique or skilled way. Again, this doesn't just apply on a personal level. I'll give you some huge examples of how these same principles are reflected in the business world successfully. First off, the power of making genuine connections. So I work with a lot of real estate agents. Being a floater in a title company, it is my job to go around all of our Reese and Nichols offices in the KC metro area to meet and work with the realtors within those offices. The common thread I hear in every success story lies in the relationship they build with their clients. I hear so many times how critical it is to be successful in real estate by genuinely caring about the individual needs of your clients and making sure they are well informed in every step of the process. Again, connections built from communication and building a genuine relationship. Turns out people love referring agents who truly cared about them in the process. Amazon and Walmart are other great business models of this example. They both have become two of the most powerful corporations in America from perfecting their own systematic process in order to benefit the needs of the mass population. Amazon and Walmart both took control of their business by streamlining or connecting their whole business model or process. And Amazon even took it a step further and not only streamlined their process better than anyone else, but in doing so, they successfully connected thousands of small local vendors directly to their huge market base. No middlemen, and they offer next day shipping. Amazon is currently the #1 company in the US, by the way. Apple's another clear example. The reason Apple has consistently maintained the top spot in the consumer market is because Apple's purpose is to empower the individual by challenging the status quo in the phone and music industry while providing its customers with sleek, top-notch, powerful, durable, and easy-to-use phones and devices. Apple's vision also started with why. So, why then is it so hard for most of us to find our solid why or purpose? The problem is when a daunting percentage of the country's population is ridden with mental illnesses such as depression, high anxiety, pressure, and trauma, we are no longer functioning under these basic principles, or at the very least, it is incredibly difficult to consciously apply them to our everyday lives when we are not okay. Our brains are naturally wired for connection, but trauma and depression rewires our brains for protection. And if we cannot trust one another, we cannot allow ourselves to form a genuine connection. This is why depression and anxiety are two of the most terrifying illnesses that exist to this day, period. And very few people are talking and doing something about it. Depression is a silent killer and it forces you to shut yourself out. Whether or not you want to, you literally lose the ability and even the desire to open up, and you no longer validate your own opinions and feelings. Let me put it in this perspective. To be honest, and I'll be the first to say that, well, everyone seems to like talking about or arguing about existing world problems like gun control, racism, suicides, politics, etc. for the problems themselves, as in what laws should be governed around them, but that has never been the true issue at all. These types of social issues all stem from a person's mental well-being at an individual level. Changing the laws that operate around us has only ever been a short-term solution. I remember growing up, my mom used to tell me and my siblings that when we used to fight, that great wars or every great war starts at home. And that is one of the most true statements I have heard to this day. Every case of mental illness or mental instability is unique. But we are so quick to argue problems happening on the outside without realizing that in order to really combat most of these outwardly issues with full force begins by treating people at an individual level instead of only arguing about short-term solutions like changing laws. This is now about getting at the mechanisms of the system that governs our laws, and we are the mechanisms of our system, which is reflected in what I mentioned in my last episode about treating people and not the diseases. As a Robin Williams quote from my last episode said, "You treat a disease, you win or you lose, but you treat a person and you will win no matter what the outcome." This is why I am taking the time to talk about process with purpose, and that purpose, no matter who you are, directly stems from the basic principles that some of us forgot about along the way. And not even because we're inherently bad people, but because life happens and life will kick you down to your knees, and when it does, it is much too easy to forget the very seeds that shape us into thriving and happy human beings. If from an early age we make it a priority to learn and practice these basic yet powerful principles every day and throughout our daily lives, and then learn to focus our energy on finding our strengths and gifts to use them for the purpose of adding value to each other's lives, I swear it will not matter, and nobody will have to care whether or not you like guns and want to own one. No one will have to be scared or worried to open up their news feeds to yet another homicide dealing with race wars or gender crimes, or more children being gunned down in schools or committing suicide in school, because today this has become the norm, and I want to know why. Why has it become normal for suicide to be the second leading cause of death among 10 to 19-year-olds? That from 2007 to 2017, the rate of suicide among Americans ages 10 to 24 rose by 56%. Why is it normal that in 2017 there were 144 police officers who died in the line of duty and about 1,000 active duty military throughout